I don't know how many of you live in cities with a downtown area where you got to pay to park, but here in Des Moines, they've always had a problem with paying to park. You got to put quarters in. I think they moved them up to maybe you can put dollars in. But I've lived in out in Colorado. I've lived in Louisiana, and both those places I know they're a lot bigger than Des Moines. Denver's a lot bigger. New Orleans is a lot bigger. But if you go downtown, you can put a credit card in. I mean, who cares if they're going to go in and, I mean, I can't remember what the last time I don't even go downtown because you have to, the places to park in New Orleans it's like non-existent except you go to a parking lot, which they should have automated, those computer automated, they should make them like 4 or 5 stories high, computer automated, where you just park your car in a place and it takes it up by itself. There's no parking garage because they put them in a little lot that you can barely drive in and park, but they should do something there. And then Colorado, it's just normal, but you got to pay to park, but you can use a credit card in both those places. They both, but here it's still you throw quarters in. I mean, who carries a pocket full of quarters? And then if you're sitting in a place, say if you have to go into a state building or something, it makes it so inconvenient. Everybody uses credit cards nowadays, and why don't they put credit card? In New Orleans, there was like for 10 parking spaces, they'd have one post that you'd go to pay at that one post, and you'd punch in what parking meter you're at, and then that you swipe your card and it give you a ticket and tell you when your time expired. So instead of having each place have a technologically advanced meter, it just go off. That meter goes to a post. Now, Colorado, they had each individual meter. So I guess there's both ways there. But Des Moines here, you got to put in quarters, or I think maybe you might be able. I don't think they got dollars, but I think they might take those Susan B. Anthony's. I'm not sure. They might have put those in during this big Susan B. Anthony thing where everybody's carrying around. Then they put those away. But I was talking on another vid how they put salt on the road here. It doesn't do anything. I was saying it was a concave roads, but I mean they're convex. But they blade them off. The wind blows the salt off, and it doesn't do anything for the ice. It has nothing to do. It doesn't do anything for the ice. Where they're spraying they were spraying antifreeze when I lived out in by Denver in Aurora. They were spraying the highways and stuff with what was it, like an antifreeze or something like that. I don't know if it was I don't know if it's that those flake that you put on there. I can't remember the name of it right now, but where you can throw it out there and then they put that in a solution and spray it on the road, and it do better at melting the ice than rock salt, because rock salt, you can see it when you drive down the road. You can see that rock salt as a car goes by. Even when they spray it out on the road, it just bounces all over, and then cars go by and it just the wind of the car, everything just blows it right off the road, and it'll melt in a pat. Maybe some will gather here in a low spot or something where it gathered. It'll melt here and melt here, but it takes it. They had a study, I don't know, years ago. I thought they was going away from salt because you put enough salt in, and over the winter, I don't know how much salt you put in, but it washes into the gutter, and then it raises the level of salt, saline, or whatever it is going into the rivers and stuff. And they was saying there was a problem with that, but you don't hear about that anymore. They don't say anything about how salt is using salt on the roadways. Apparently, they were starting to use this antifreeze, so they used an anti-salt campaign saying the salt was going into the waterways. So everybody was going with the saline or whatever that calcium chloride. I don't know what it is that you throw on concrete, and they're like flakes and it melts it real quick. But I think they was spraying that or some sort of antifreeze out there in around Denver. Problem is, it would start melting the plastic chrome on the front of cars and stuff. It would eat away at the chrome, and so they was trying to get away from that. And I moved out of there in 2005 or something like that, so I can't or 2004. Anyway, it was they were spraying that, and then I don't know if they was going away from that or not, but I heard up in the Dakotas, I don't know if it's South Dakota or North Dakota, they spray. They said it's better than salt, better than calcium chloride. If it's calcium chloride, I don't know, calcium sulfate, I don't know. Anyway, up in Dakota, they use beet juice. Problem is, when they first started using it, there was a bunch of complaints about how you can't walk around in anything white or anything else because they're saying that this is what they're saying. Now, I don't have no first-hand experience. I might have drove up there, but they were saying it dyes the roads red, and I can't remember. I've driven through up in there, and I can't remember if I noticed the roads were red or not. But they use beet juice, and they say you cannot like freeze beet juice. How salt has I don't know if it's 20 degrees, what the temperature where salt can melt ice at. I was reading somewhere where from calcium chloride to salt, one had a melting point where it was like maybe calcium chloride, and then there's antifreeze that melts like maybe -20, and then the calcium chloride is like 10 degrees or 0 degrees, and then salt was like maybe 20. Anyway, whatever it was, this beet juice melts it no matter what temperature is, because it gets so cold up in the Dakotas, none of the salt or none of this other stuff would work. Finally, they came up on beet juice, and it melts ice, and apparently it's great, but the only problem with it, it turns, this is what they said, is that it turns, like if you're walking around, if Jesus was up there walking around in his white robe, he'd be all red, and they'd all probably take him as a devil, but I don't know. That's what they said. But they keep hearing, every time I talk, they use beet juice up in North Dakota, and it works great, but apparently it turns the roads reds and whatever. But why don't they use, since everybody's anti-white, why don't they use beet juice instead? I mean, if it's better, if it's going to protect people from slam accidents, or is the government saying, well, if there's accidents, then we're going to, whether there's death or not, we're going to collect taxes on the towing. We're going to collect taxes because there's more accidents, so we're going to have to support more accident prevention, and we're going to get taxes from hospital bills, and the doctors are going to be making more money if there's more accidents, so their taxes will be taken out in their employment tax, and we'll get a tax this and tax that, and let's just stick with salt, the worst thing there is for ice. Let's just stick with salt. But why? If you're so, I mean, you look at somebody and say, well, he's not wearing a seatbelt, let's ticket him for not wearing a seatbelt. And but you go to all these places where you pull up to an intersection, and they got the intersection blocked with bush or trees or signs, stops or information signs, highway signs, speed limit signs. They're all blocking. You got 5 different signs, trees, and brush. You're trying to look around as the traffic's coming up, and you can't see around the sign. So why don't they get off this high horse of claiming they're all safety conscious, quit worrying about people wearing seatbelts, because they don't care if people die. I mean, why would the government care if people die if they put them in a war and let them die? I mean, where do you turn off their two-faced, I don't even know what the word would be. I'm going to say antium, because it's antium, maybe. A-N-T-I-U-M, like somebody's going, anti-anything, so you say anti-, or instead of spelling antium, you say antium. Make people think it's a all one word, new word. But they're not safety conscious. They send you to a war. They used to, and hey, go die for our corporate cause. And we need more oil. We need salt. We need coal. We need more. We need. We can win this war over here. Say like World War II, World War One. They used to collect money from countries for winning a war and say, well, we won. You pay us. They don't do that anymore. So they tax us and kill us. Well, I'm not dead. I haven't been in a war. I'm not saying, I'm not saying I've been to a war. But what I'm saying is, the people die in wars for, under unsafe conditions. Unsafe conditions. Of course, it's a war. Of course, it's an unsafe condition. But I'm just saying, they're all safety conscious that they have wars. And they're all, anyway, that's all I was trying to say is a couple things there. Parking meters. Why ain't parking meters here in Des Moines? Why ain't they credit card? Why don't they up the ante, trying to, instead of putting a 2-block ugly art. And I've been to, I was talking about in another vid I just put up about this art. It's not an exhibit. They got these sculptures, these ugly freaking nightmare sculptures down Des Moines that they close some businesses out and build a nightmare park. I don't know if it's your kids misbehaving, you're supposed to walk them through that at a certain time of night or something. They're going to have nightmares. I don't know. Anyway, maybe it's to scare off dogs, or maybe it's so gangs or whatever won't go down there and tag anything because it's already uglier than the tag. So gangs say, hey, I don't want to tag this area. It's my tag. It upgrade this area. So anyway, but I've been to like Florence, Italy. It was not on a trip. It was in the military, and anyway, but you went down there and seen statues, and their art was like actual art. It wasn't like this crap art that they put all over the states now. Like you could have put chainsaw art down there. It would have been better than this freaking scrapyard art they got down there. That's what it looks like. It looked like somebody walked to the scrapyard and took some of this, that, and the other, and then made it a sculpture. But anyway, I mean, you go to places that actually have sculptures from the 15th, the centuries back. Michelangelo and all them. Well, my mind's going blank on an artist. I don't know. Anyway. But why is everything junk art now? Why does everybody claim it's like you can take a bunch of wheel rims, weld them together into a certain, you don't even have to form them up. You can just start welding them together, paint them, throw them in your front yard and call them art. And that's what they're doing nowadays. It's not even art, it's just junk. Why is society just accepting this stuff and having people not, private people, stuff on private property, not a problem. When they go putting this junk on public property, like they got this something over on the Iowa-Nebraska border on I-80. They got this bridge going across I-80, and some sculpture, it was like, I don't know if it was inspired by that movie Amorphous or something like that, which means that stuff set at different angles, and you look at it and it creates an art. But if you off look at it, you don't know it as anything but junk or whatever. Well, that's what it is over there. You look at it at a certain angle, until you get at a certain angle with the light shining on it correctly, it looks like scrapyard junk on this bridge that goes over I-80 right there. I don't know, it's a mile or two inside the state line, but it's like a welcome to Iowa. I think some comedian said, I don't even know if I came across there. Some comedian said, oh, you been to Iowa? They got this junkyard set up, and I went by there and I thought, wow, this guy's right. It is junk art, but it's amorphous art, but it still looks like junk. And this artist put lights up to it, and apparently he put in, maybe his description was the lights had to be at a certain angle. Well, after he put that up and put these lights in it to shine at night when the sun sets, you can see what they are, and it's like one looks like different. They're both sides of the bridge are done in this scrap art, and it looks like weapons or something like that. One looks like, I don't know if it's a machine. I can't remember. It's been a while, but machine gun or a battleship gun or something like that. But the light had to shine on it at night at a certain angle, and during the day you'd have to be at a certain angle to see it. But after he put this up and put the lights in, apparently some idiot over there in the county that it's in, or the district or whatever, decided that they wanted to light that bridge up, to make that bridge, I don't know, notice. I don't know what it was for. But then they put lights, they after this art was up and the lights, and apparently the artist said, this is how the project is, and these lights have to be in at a certain angle and have to shine. Some idiot in their council over there put up lights on the bridge to light up the bridge, on the rails of the bridge, go all the way across. So now the lights that help create that art at night don't help anymore, and these idiots of the council just look like scrap art. Unless you're in the daytime, and you've been by a couple times. If you go by it once, you're thinking, wow, that looks like a scrapyard somebody put up, and you continue on down the road. But you have to go by it a couple, because I had to go by it a couple times to notice what it was. And that's what this country's coming to, is junkyard art. I mean, look at all the junk cars around the country. Okay, why doesn't the country, why not take that wrecked fender, take all the parts off it that are salvageable, organize them, build a lean-to or something, organize them, instead of having them sit out and rust, and just put iron in the ground is what you're doing, is letting them rust and put iron in the ground. Why don't you take all the scrap part? I know it's like, well, it takes too long, it's too much labor, and maybe we won't sell that for a year. A lot of those cars, a lot of these car lots or scrap yards have these cars sitting out there, I don't know how long. But if you took all the parts off, I know some of them do take parts off, but there's a lot of places, a lot of scrap cars just sitting in farm lots. And farmers think, well, that car is worth a lot of money now. It's sitting in the ground. It's practically part of the ground. You could probably lift that car up and there would be no frame because they've rusted through. Well, the bodies, I've seen price tags. I've seen price tags on pickups now that are more than the pickup was new. And they're just a pile of junk with no wheels, sitting on blocks, rusted, and they want the same price more than the trucks were new, in perfect condition, with the warranty. How is this country selling these pickups? No warranty, used truck, 30-year-old truck, no warranty, can't hardly find parts for them. Everything's been sold for them. And they want, because of all these TV shows, they went through and bought a pickup, turned it in. We made $17,000 on this pickup. We put $20,000 parts in, but we're rich because we got a whatever. We got a bunch of money coming in from somewhere there and there, and so now we can go on TV and say we made a bunch of money on this, that, and the other, and it's going to make everybody pay more money for a piece of junk pickup because we're building them up to turn around, sell, and make more on them. Some of them just take them, turn around, sell them. I don't think that's like that anymore, but I can't buy a freaking pickup for less than it would be to buy it new, and they don't even have warranties on them. They're rusted out. They're junk. Especially here in the Midwest, all the salt they use is junk. It's rust. But why is there junk art everywhere? Why is this country... Or they're trying to just beautify everything. Just a big, giant landscape. They landscape all these warehouse. Who goes down the warehouse district and says, oh, my gosh, this is such a beautiful area. I'd like to drive through here more. They're warehouses. Why worry about them? What's going to walk through there? Deer? They'll after a while, they'll run the deer out. They run everything out. Anyway, I guess that'll be another vid where I'm talking about how people move to the country and then want everything that comes through their yard called a pest, and they want them poisoned and killed because you got a raccoon or a skunk or a possum or a deer or coyote or fox running through your yard. No, I don't want it. My yard is eating my rose bushes. You know, probably trim them better than you do. I don't mind animals coming through here. They eat stuff. You know what? I've had them eat stuff and it grew better after they ate it. And if you want stuff protected, put a small fence around it. Why we got to get rid of animals? If you move, why do you move into the country or into an area where there's animals, and then you want to run the animals out? People, man, you need to quit breeding. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad I ain't bringing nothing to this slave-infested planet.